Well, it's time now for today's perspective. Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo has called Paris's bars and restaurants the soul of the city, urging people to support local establishments as they fight to survive the economic ravages of the pandemic. So, how are they faring? And what happens when the weather gets colder? My guest today is Edward Delling-Williams, chef and owner of Le Grand Bain restaurant here in Paris. Thank you very much indeed for speaking to us on the programme. Now, you actually own 2 establishments here in Paris. What was your experience of lockdown?
I'm one of the associates of Le Grand Bain and also our bakery Le Petit Grain, and the lockdown was pretty difficult for us, as it was for most restaurants, I think. We were lucky that our restaurant had to shut down, but we were lucky that we had a bakery to fall back onto. So we had a slightly different trajectory than other people. But it's been with the Gilets jaunes and the RATP strikes before the COVID confinement, it's been a very difficult last 12 months.
Now, restaurants and bars were allowed to reopen for business for the first time on the 2nd of June. How's business been since then for you?
It's been quite good. The reception has been pretty excellent with the new passing of the laws of being able to sit on terraces and open up terraces. This obviously leads, like you said, to maybe having greater problems when the weather changes and it becomes colder and perhaps infection rates rise and people aren't allowed to go into a full capacity restaurant, and that will be the real testing time for us.
And what do you think's going to happen? Do you think people are still going to be going out to restaurants if they have to sit outside, if they're having to socially distance within restaurants? What are your predictions for the coming months?
I think people are still going to want to go to restaurants. It's a huge part of French culture. It's a part of human culture as well, I suppose, now. I honestly don't know. I think people are going to adapt. Obviously, at the moment, if you are a restaurant that is unable to have a terrace, then it's going to be extremely difficult for you now, and maybe that will balance out in the winter months. Maybe the restaurants that have smaller capacities will be full on a more regular basis, and perhaps the restaurants that don't have the capacity to have the terrace right now might be able to recoup some of their losses, as the same amount of people are going out to eat, and so they have to find a place to eat. Paris is quite an eating city, like you said, the soul.
So Parisians obviously do love eating out, they love their restaurants, but the restaurant industry as a whole also relies heavily on tourism, and as we know, tourism's been terribly hit by this pandemic. How worried are you about that possible return of tourists? When's it going to happen? How many will feel safe travelling to France?
This is definitely something that's on our minds. The only thing that we can really hope for is that we can weather this storm, and when tourists start coming back to the city, the profits hopefully should go up again. But again, it's just about a time of when this is going to happen. I think that when tourism, when bans and on moving around start to be lifted, I think that Paris is going to be one of those cities that's extremely visited again. It always has been. It has this reputation as one of the most visited cities in the world, and I think it will retain that reputation. But it'll be a welcome break when tourists can come back again.
Now, of course, casting our minds back a bit, lockdown did mean that people literally couldn't leave their houses. People did, in fact, start ordering more food in. In your experience, in what ways have restaurants changed their business model to adapt to what we're all calling the new normal?
Yeah, there were many restaurants that did these home deliveries. We decided not to do this because, as I said, we were fortunate enough to have a bakery that obviously stayed open. So a lot of our staff were put on chômage partiel for the restaurant, and myself and my associate went down to the bakery to go and work. As for the new norm, I don't know. Obviously, takeout food is now becoming bigger and bigger, but that trend was already happening before COVID. I think COVID just pushed it over the edge. I think that will never replace the new norm. Now won't replace that old norm. If people can go to restaurants, people will go to restaurants. It's about an experience. It's not just about eating food. It's not just about nourishment. It's about going out and meeting your friends and meeting family and sitting down for an experience.
Now, clearly you were happy about Parisian authorities allowing restaurants and establishments to spill out onto the pavements to be able to welcome more guests. What else do you think authorities can be doing right now to help businesses like yours?
I mean, I've got to say, I've been pretty amazed at how well the authorities have been dealing with this. The terrasse, like you said, I think is an excellent idea. I think it really brings a life and soul to Paris. But also the quick action of the chômage partiel for all the staff was really a good idea. The quarantine itself is obviously a good idea, even though it was very, very difficult. I don't know what more that they could do to aid the restaurant industry as such. I hope that there's not another quarantine. If there is, obviously I'm going to respect that because it needs to be, people's lives are way more important than profit. But I'm hoping that it won't lock down again. Yeah.
You're not alone there, I can assure you. And just to end, if you had a few words to say to your potential customers, to people in Paris, as we go into the next few very uncertain months, what would they be?
Stay safe, wear your mask, keep washing your hands, be super respectful of one another, and hopefully have a good time.
Edward Delling-Williams, chef and owner of Le Grand Bain restaurant here in Paris. Thank you very much for speaking to us here on France 24.